Welcome to game number 1 here between VortiX and 3DB in this best of 3. Part of the Elite Classic, spawning in here on the left-hand side of the map in the color blue. It's VortiX on the Roos.
His opponent playing on a high view in game 2, spawning in the color orange. And as the Chinese, it is 3DB. Now, we don't see an IO yet, but MrMerlin, you know quite a few things about magic, I would imagine. Are the IOs indoctrinated in the school of magic because their ability to pull resources out of thin air?
Unfortunately, I am not allowed to tell you that. So no comment.
Fine, keep your secrets.
But yeah, these guys are pretty crazy, right? I think quite a few players were... this is actually a recent topic about the Imperial Official that I've been seeing quite a few pros talk about. And that's whether the fact Imperial Officials should just pull 20% of a resource out of thin air. So, you know, it is a pretty crazy bonus here for the Chinese. Especially on maps like, what's it called? Hill and Dale. So, you know, obviously we're not on that map today, but still going to be nice for the Chinese here. Going to be dropping down that village as well. Going for the classic build order here. Just going to be chopping that remaining little bit of wood here. It seems like the wood was a little bit messed up, as you're usually only 3 wood away from being able to drop down a mining camp on the gold. So maybe a little bit of a miss micro there for B, but not going to be too much of an issue for him. Just needs to chop just a tad more.
And to be honest, I really enjoy seeing that. I mean, you don't want to see mishaps out of your players, but it just keeps in perspective to know that these players are human. You know, sometimes you make a little macro issue. VortiX, however, methodically running through some of these deer patches and some of these wolves. I'm kind of curious to see where his bounty ends up by the end of this, because I'm hearing a lot of updates on these wolves, and I thought the scouts, I was waiting to see which one was going to break.
Yeah, I think they would have ended up killing each other there. Which, I mean, if you're playing as the Roos, is that necessarily a bad thing? Because then it would be 2 scouts up against 1 scout. I guess it doesn't really make a difference.
No, probably not. I mean, I would think if you put your resources into making a unit, you'd rather them survive. Oh, man, that Roos scout continues to blink. But now he's got some reinforcements here. Oh, B's pulling that wolf on not much health. That's a dangerous proposition, my friend.
Yeah, looks like VortiX is just going to be leaving the 1 scout to finish up that wolf. And B, he needs to be super careful here. He's playing it risky with this scout, but it looks like he will be able to return home. VortiX, he has the edge up coming through here. 6 villagers moving onto that Kremlin. Nice little Kremlin position. It's kind of far away from the wood line, but I guess that's alright. Your main priority here is the gold.
Yeah, and I think these gold resources, I mean, China might be able to be safe a little bit just because of the taxation process that they have, but VortiX is going to be the first one going up to feudal age. Looks like a little bit of a miss macro from B again. He's got about 500 food, something like that, but we'll be ending up going down eventually. That Kremlin, however, going to make sure he's safe, especially when trying to gather that stone, which is going to be behind the Kremlin. We all know the Chinese, they want to go Song Dynasty. They want to pump out those villagers. Roos has got to follow suit or they're going to be left in the dust.
I'd have to assume B's going for Song Dynasty here. Is he still remaining with 2 villagers on the gold? Bringing a little bit more tax as well. So that's what he's going to be looking to go for, I'd expect. Not sure where he could... He's probably going to be looking to drop it here. You know, the wood line, the deer, the gold. Nice position.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, you want to accumulate all those extra resources as possible. VortiX going for what seems like the great villager migration just because of how far away that stone actually is. But we'll probably get this town center up a little bit quicker. I mean, they don't have to get that second landmark, so it gives them the ability to get that stone just a little bit quicker than B and China. We're going to see, to be honest, though, from the Roos, because we talked about 2 TC Roos, we talked about 3 TC Roos. I'm curious what VortiX actually chooses.
Yeah, I would have to say it's probably only going to be the 2. I'll be surprised if we see 3, but you never know. But I see a nice position over here for VortiX. Deer patch as well as the... where's that boar? There he is. There's the boar. Boar going to be over there as well. So this could definitely be a nice position. It's a little bit far out, but I don't think VortiX has much of a problem with that. We see B playing it pretty condensed so far. Hasn't got down any sort of production. As we do see here, Militia going to be running in for VortiX. Trying to take down that scout right there. B. Not looking to go out onto the stone quite yet. Are we going to be seeing a bit of a... Where is he going with this, in fact? Did he Oh, he cancelled the Barbican. Is he going for a Barbican drop somewhere? Okay, it's just going to be here.
Okay, there we go. I was going to say, I thought the villagers just got so pissed off they didn't want to make the Barbican anymore. Yeah. And they were like, you know what, these militia are going to die. But now that they finally hit the ground and the clock struck midnight on them, two more gremlins are going to pop up.
To be fair, though, B can just kill these with the villagers. But it's still a lot of idle time here. As we do see the scout goes down. So already some nice value there for VortiX. Trying to pick up another villager as well. And just so much idle time. This is great for VortiX. Just delaying that Song Dynasty for as long as possible. As these workers are going to be able to finally clean up that second militia. And B loses.
They even called more boys out there. You saw 4 or 5 villagers come out from the eastern side. They look like a swarm of ants trying to take down one of those militia, but that Barbican finally getting up. But it just goes to show, again, and I'm going to talk about it every time we talk about Rus, but how good the Kremlin is, because VortiX able to get that second town center with no problems. You see it's up there on the minimap there on the left side, right next to that deer patch up there with no problems, because B was so consumed with the gremlins and the militia that were trying to take down that Barbican, so he's going to get that second town center off lickety-split.
Yeah, B's going to have to wait a little bit for the second TC. We see he's still lacking in the wood as we see more militia going to be walking in here. B going to be able to pick off the low HP villagers back into the Barbican. Did you see there the militia not going to be finding too much value here. But B, no, he's still a way away from that second TC. So this is nice here for VortiX. But then again, you know, B is on Song Dynasty, so he's going to be able to slowly creep ahead of VortiX.
Yeah, he does finally get it just because of how many villagers were on stone, but it just shows how important that defensive structure actually is. I mean, if you have the micro like B does, and boy does he have some micro, being able to pull those low health villagers out of the way, the Barbican gets its hand cannon slit reloaded, and going to take hits on those gremlins. But you're right, I mean, it just kind of, the way it messes up the macro, just having a couple of those Kremlin militia. We just eclipsed our 8th minute in the game, still waiting on 400 wood.
VortiX is now looking to go out for the ball. Not going to be for a third TC, but it's still going to be a nice position for him. Obviously, like the Rus, they're always wanting to find as much value with bounty as possible. So we could actually take a quick look, see what VortiX is currently sitting at. So he's sitting at 320, so I do believe that ball would have just pushed him over into tier 2. So that's going to be nice for him right there. Gonna be dropping down a hunting cabin with it. That's actually quite a decent amount of gold, to be fair, in a stealth forest. That's quite a lot. Always take it.
Yeah, with no woodline around, actually, you love to see it. And VortiX didn't exactly pull that pork very far. You know,
exactly.
He just kept it around that stealth forest. And now, I mean, B, if he did scout that area, he sees the boar icon has disappeared from his mini-map. But in terms of where, it's going to be difficult because it's right in the middle of the stealth forest. So he's got to really actually search for it.
Yeah, exactly. And actually, interestingly here, this hunting cabin makes more than this one. This one only makes 19. That's really surprising.
I wish I had an answer for you, but I don't. I guess just because of being on that, I want to say quote-unquote shoreline of where the woods are, I guess it didn't really pick up that much in the way of trees, but we're seeing army compositions start to develop out of both of these players. Knights and archers, typical Rus. 3DB adding a couple Zugnu.
What a surprise.
Into his army composition. Yeah, I know. Go figure.
Looks like he's also going to be adding in a stable, maybe not necessarily for horsemen, but just for scouts, as he did lose both of his in the early stages of the game. One of them by the Barbican and the other one in a stealth forest over here. So definitely a smart move, adding in a couple more. Maybe he looks to add in some horsemen after this as well. But we see here VortiX just being such a pain with just the one knight. But he has no food anywhere else. I mean, he's got the deer he could always look to go towards. But we see he's going to be dropping down the barracks now, looking to just get a couple spears out just to deal with the little annoying knight here out of VortiX. VortiX going very heavy on knights. He's only on the one stable, but he's continuously pushing these out. Plenty of archers on the way for him as well.
Yeah, to be honest, I actually really like the knights, especially if you saw Zugnu in the beginning, making sure that you're getting those blacksmith upgrades. VortiX already getting iron undermesh, so it's going to help him out. He does have enough archers here to kind of keep that spearman in bay as long as the Zugnu don't necessarily target it. But all of these villagers, again, just because B doesn't have the military mass, all of those villagers, this is just more idle time, which is exponential because of how many villagers were actually on those berry bushes.
Looks like finally B is going to be moving out to that secondary food source out here with the deer. He's finally decided to move away from this berry patch, but VortiX has bought a lot of idle time with that. B's army not looking too strong right now. He only has 5 Chukanu, 2 spearmen. And we see the army value for VortiX is absolutely huge right now, up to 2,800. And that's just because of the amount of knights he's got at the moment. And he's got more and more in the queue. We see another 2 there coming out from the stable as he drops down another one as well. Blacksmith upgrade's going to be coming through from him. Iron on Damesh is through. Steeled Arrow going to be the next one coming through. And then maybe we even see engineering coming through very soon. But VortiX going to be charging in here. Textiles is in for B, so not going to be taking too much damage right there. Only losing the one villager. Almost losing an Imperial official.
Yeah, honestly, losing one of those IOs is so much worse than even losing a group of villagers, just because of how efficacious they are at the resources that they're able to do. But Archer's doing a good job for the Roost player for VortiX, taking down a lot of these spearmen. Now B only has 1 spearman on the battlefield with another one in the queue. He finally got his food resource stabilized. There's a dead IO, and I'll tell you what, I don't like China, so you love to see it.
Yeah, exactly. But it looks like VortiX is going to be retreating back for the time being. He's loving this position right here in this wood line. It's such a nice position. It denies away so many resources here from B. It denies away the berries, the wood line itself, and just causes, so much havoc with Imperial officials walking past this space.
Yeah, and I mean, based on how many workers that VortiX actually killed, it looks like it's 6 total on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. It actually negated Song Dynasty to an extent. Economic count still 60 to 59. There's a lot of idle time. Spearmen almost get that braze, but it looks like there's enough knights to actually take this. Villagers have to idle themselves yet again, Merlin.
Yeah, have a look at them all running away there, holding their wood. Looks like VortiX is in a really, really strong position right now. He's done such a good job throughout these games, just making use of all of the resources on the map while keeping up the pressure in the opponent's base. We see so many units rallied out here. B may even lose a couple more villagers here while constructing up these outposts.
Yeah, it looks like there's only about 1 spearman down there on the south side. It's enough to get them knights to move in the opposite direction, so the outposts will go up just because of that Chinese build speed. If you blink too many times in a row, you're going to miss them actually going up. And the Knight and Archer mass now actually backing away from that back wood line, just because VortiX, he's really good at spotting out game situations. Obviously, he has a scout there in the back as well. Is that another pork product he's taking, Merlin?
Yeah, he is.
Oh my goodness.
He's absolutely everywhere on the map right now. Let's have a look at his map vision right now. Have a look at that. That is absolutely ridiculous. B, on the other hand, he's super condensed into the space. And VortiX behind this. He's going to be aging up here with the high trade house. 15 villagers on that landmark. What's your prediction?
I'm keeping with 215, and I want everyone else in chat to give us a prediction on high trade house. We'll see if you get it right.
I'm going to predict 216.
Okay, dude. I see a 225 in there from Sniper Knight. Good. Get your bets in. You got about 10 seconds left to get this high trade house up. Now remember, bounty, it's at about a little bit over 400 now, I think, with that second boar. So, oh yeah, 180, 189. That's all the ones we want to see. CSGO at 214. Click on it for me, Merlin.
180. They've always...
Raven SC2
Dude.
with 180 on the
Damn.
nose. Congratulations, my friend. Bud, I'm really happy for you. You win absolutely nothing, but thank you for playing.
That's kind of crazy he got that bang on. But to be honest, I'm kind of surprised at how low this is. I thought this would have been way higher. Because especially as you got these stealth forests in there as well.
Yeah, because of how you're right. Because of how well the second hunting cabin did on the first board. But again, still going with these night raids. Actually loses a night at this point. But now that VortiX hit Castle Age with the high trade house, so what did he do? You can see it on the top part of your screen. There's 18 little gremlins running around. Conglomerating with their top mass. There they are, right there.
Upgrades are about to come through as well. He's about to make the death push.
Those gremlins get automatically buffed when they hit Castle Age, so they're so much stronger now. He's looking to take the fight to him. Let's see how it goes.
We've got a couple upgraded outposts in here for B. They both got hand cannon emplacements, which are going to be helping out a little bit here. But is it going to be enough, though? I mean, the mass here for VortiX is absolutely huge. Veterancy upgrades are in on the archers. They're in on the knights. And we've got Shadow Tech's militia in here. B's true canoe mass is just being eaten alive right here. B going to be losing a couple villagers as well very shortly, as we see not going to be able to fit inside of these town centers. B's economy just being completely idled out at the moment. This is huge value right here for VortiX. Archers.
And B had to put Zugnu in the starting town center. What does that mean? He sends those archers all the way down to the northeast. Check that out, Merlin. There's so many dead villagers there. They have nowhere to go.
So many dead villagers absolutely everywhere. We see they're going to be able to make it through the gate right there. But VortiX, we see his army value is still so much higher right now. It's huge. And the knights take barely any damage as we've got +2 melee, +2 range defense in. The real damage dealer here is the little hand cannon slits. But still, that is huge value right there for VortiX. It looks like he's going to be retreating back now, but more villagers going to get caught off guard as VortiX made his way around that wood line. So many villagers for B going down here. And we've got some friends. Look at this, friends. Not for much longer.
Yeah, because of that wooden fortress, he was able to see it to get that boar all the way to the top. I'm counting about 20-ish kind of villagers that have no defense support whatsoever. This is a matter of time before this Chinese province becomes a ghost town.
Yeah, more villagers getting picked off here. More getting picked off in the north. More in the wood line. B has lost 38 villagers this game, and it's only climbing. VortiX looking in such a strong position right now.
Yeah, I don't think there's an amount of Song Dynasty that could save you. You're going to need a chorus, let alone a song, to try to get those villagers back up. Right now, he's at 67, and the point is, because of all of those getting idle, it just means he doesn't have a lot of resources to spend in military, and he also doesn't want to spend in military because he's an age behind. VortiX is a mile ahead in this game.
B's trying to go for the age up now. We see he's macroing for that age 3, but the question is he going to be able to get there? Because we just see so much idle time coming out. He's made a farm transition over to the left-hand side of his base, but I felt like that's just going to get idled here in a second with VortiX starting to remass up his archers. He's up to 27, 13 knights also on the field, and we've got a keep drop coming through at the front of the base here, as well as some siege workshops. So at this point, VortiX is looking to just go into some trebuchets, look to start to slowly siege down the production here of B. Definitely a smart move.
Oh, this is such an excellent move, and I think for people that want to play against China very well should take notes on this for this keep and the siege workshop, because it pushes the initiative. It gets China out of the shell that they want to be in. So they get a couple of trebuchets or even some rams. He's raiding in multiple different angles. The camera is flying all over the place because we're trying to catch everything. 3DB going up with the astronomical clock tower with 18 villagers. I couldn't even say the words astronomical clock tower, and then it's already up. Yeah, so he will get a little bit of siege superiority, trying to get some nest of bees, trying to get some beehives to actually save him in this game.
He really rushed up at that landmark. He wants to get through his veterancy upgrades here for the spearman. Even if he does get through some nest of bees, though, they're not going to be well defended. With the amount of knights that we've got here for VortiX, they'll just be able to dive onto that siege. And we do actually see an S2B has been put in the queue here for B, but hasn't really got a lot to defend it.
No, I mean, one beehive isn't going to sting you enough. You know, especially with VortiX, he's going heavier into knights. You can see 5 in the queue in the top part of your screen. We finally have a trebuchet of the counterweight variety going to be taking down not only some of those landmarks, but some of those villages, which are super important. Zugnu trying to get a raid, which, to be honest, it's quite an anemic raid.
And Mangonel also in the queue here for VortiX. He's going to be starting to focus down the villagers, as you said. Oh, actually, he's going for the Barbican first. B trying to get up a keep drop here. VortiX going to be able to deny that one away, though. VortiX is just doing such a good job at the moment, attacking on 2 fronts simultaneously and able to put so much pressure onto B here. And behind this, VortiX, he's got all 5 relics in the bank. He's got his first sacred site. Second, I'm sure will be under capture very, very shortly. He could even go for the 3rd here.
Yeah, and I think we kind of foreshadowed that a little bit before this game started. If you have an opportunity to get all 3 sacred sites, it feels like you kind of won anyway, just because of one being friendly on either side. But he's still continuing with that Zugnu mass, which I think is still in fuel age. He has 32 of them trying to protect that nest of bees. A twin beehive actually just came out of the clock tower as well. But I think for VortiX, if he just takes out some of these defensive structures that he's doing with the Barbican, might be able to take down some of these military production as he just torched down that archery range. It could spell doom for B. He might not be able to remass.
VortiX just has so many knights at the moment. He's up to 21. I'm sure we've got Boyle's Fortitude through. Yeah, we do. We got all of the blacksmith upgrades in here for VortiX. And we just see his army values up to 13,000. Not 13,000.
One thing I will say, and you know I'm going to die on this hill because you talked about trades so much. Get some warrior monks in there. Get some Saint's Blessing, get some T's and P's on all of those knights and those archers. It just really helps you, especially in that ranged armor when you're dealing with a Zugnu mass. Oh my god, it's massive.
I think he can do that now. He's picked up all 3 sacred sites. He's picked up all 5 relics, so he's really got nothing else to do with the warrior monks. As we see here, double Springled, double clock tower Springled just gets instantly taken out there by the mass of knights in here for VortiX. And at this point, he can just rampage through the base of B. B really doesn't have a lot in here. He has 2 Nester Bees making their way to the front line here. Maybe able to get some nice shots onto the archers. But even if he does, it's not a big deal here for VortiX. The Knight Mass and the Siege Mass is what he really cares about. And we see here triple Springled going to be enough to one-shot these Nester Bees now. VortiX has the Sacred Site victory approaching behind this as well. It's 1 Trebuchet still making good siege on the backline.
And that 1 Trebuchet, that's really all you need to push the initiative, especially because B can't get to it. You know, you saw those clock tower Springled just get popped like a weasel. A 3rd one gets popped over there on the eastern side. Whether they're clock tower or not, they're going to end up going down without any kind of front mass behind it. For B now, military count down to 17. This is spell in the end, Merlin.
And there it is.
Oh my god, how do you call that?
Perfectly.
Let's go.
So VortiX going to be taking game number 1 here in this best of 3. What a great opener that was.
Yeah, it was a good start. I mean, you saw the power of Rus on this map, right? You saw how they were able to go out to those outside Gaia food resources. He got a boar in a different country over there, all the way up there in the north, and was able to take that, and that deer patch over there on the north as well. Obviously, for villagers, he kept pace with the Song Dynasty, and just because of how many workers he ended up getting killed, you know, he was able to take that into consideration. And then military count at the end, just because of all that idle time, you end up seeing that. Look at the economy, and what for all of these resources per minute, I kind of call the tail of the tape. You take a look at it: food, wood, stone, gold, didn't matter. VortiX had more of it.
Yeah, exactly. VortiX, he's been playing games absolutely amazing today. I think he's actually lost a game. So, you know, he's playing phenomenally. So let's head over to the lobby screen.
But I mean, B this right now he's down 1-0, but he is very, very far from out of it. I mean, you're up against a Roost player on high view. VortiX very good with Roost, so you were kind of fighting up. It was more of an uphill battle, I would say, for B. But now coming into game two, maybe he gets a little bit of a better matchup. He's able to even the score just a little bit, and it looks like based on the matchup that I could see on my other monitor, it is VortiX on the HRE. English as 3D civilization going to be on the rockiest of canyons.
Yeah, a map we haven't actually seen yet today, so I'm glad we're having a little bit of a mix-up here. But English for B. Interesting, I haven't actually seen B on the English in quite a while. So I'm looking forward to seeing this one. VortiX on the Holy Roman Empire, civilization that he's very familiar with, so he's going to be feeling pretty happy about this one.
Yeah, and honestly, I think it's a pretty good matchup, and I want to hear your opinion on this as well because a lot of the data or whatever anecdotal evidence that I'm pulling is kind of from earlier seasons because I remember English going with that kind of fast castle build that they used to have, and we saw Lena kind of doing that. Like he was
Hmm.
getting farms really early, not necessarily a fast castle kind of thing, but that's kind of how the build matriculated into castle. The English player would, when it gets up to castle, you're just never going to be as fast as the HRE, right? So
Hmm.
not really that best play for the HRE. For the HRE, they could go for maybe a second town center or something if they didn't want to go fast castle. And if they do, those villagers, just because of their inspiration, and I will be introducing the HRE, don't get that twisted. Um, that the HRE villagers, just because they're inspired, it just means they do that much better than the English villagers, and they're able to get that TC up almost at about the same time. So it seems difficult for the English player to really get a foothold on this civ, and I think it really all comes down to some of those, the first like 3 to 5 ish longbowmen. If you're really going to delay the HRE, and again, not let the HRE do HRE things, you get those 3 to 5 longbowmen out and really wreak some havoc, it could be a problem for VortiX. So we'll see how B ends up playing it.
Yeah, I feel like fast castle builds are definitely the way here for the Holy Roman Empire. So we'll have to see if that's what comes out here from VortiX. I feel like Burgrave could possibly work. We'll have to see though, because B, he loves his early aggression, so maybe that's not viable here for VortiX. But we're about 5 seconds away from jumping into this game, which could possibly be match point. Well, it is match point here for VortiX. So welcome. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, go on,
I'm
Tim.
doing it.
Take
No,
it
no,
away.
no, 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 no. I'm doing it. Welcome, guys. Game number 2 with a 1-0 lead for VortiX. This is match point, spawning in as the color blue, playing as the HRE, using that prelate, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to all of those villagers. It is VortiX and Merlin. Who's he playing against?
He's going to be facing up against 3DB spawning in on the right-hand side of the map. He's in the color orange, and he's playing as the English. So no early farm. Wait. There they are. I was confused for a second. Like, where are B's
There's
villagers?
no early anything.
Yeah.
What is going on here?
He's over here on the deer pack.
Done.
Interesting.
Yeah, look at what technology he's getting too on the upper right hand part of the screen, going with the survival techniques. This is something that I have seen French do a lot in different French builds. English players, I saw it a long time ago, like on Altai. If anyone remembers the player Igus, he developed this English build on Altai because the deer was so close to the starting town center. But B, definitely stretching that to adverse proportions. Gonna go with the deer and the survival techniques, which it was a lot of walking time out here.
Yeah, it looks like he's continuing to send out villagers over here. This isn't something that we usually see the English do. This is something that we would usually see civilizations such as the French do. The French are very happy to do this because, their mills are half the cost, so they're not exactly investing a lot into this mill. But for the English, it's slightly different. As we see B, he isn't going to have enough wood to be able to drop down that lumber camp, so he's going to have to chop a little bit on the tree here. But yeah, this isn't something we've seen in a long, long time, especially with the English.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I love watching B play, and this is actually my first opportunity to cast 3DB. So I really appreciate watching this series. You see the Aachen Chapel going down around the food, the wood, the gold, pretty good Aachen.
That's a
But
really nice
going
Aachen.
back to B's strategy here on the south side with survival techniques, I mean, this is why a lot of people love watching B, and B has so many fans because I kind of give him a mad scientist kind of role along with a couple other people in the AoE4 community because he does things that are very unorthodox. And I think by doing those unorthodox things, it makes your opponent have to be adaptable and have to use a different strategy or kind of figure out how to contest it. He's even putting the council
Wow.
hall in a different place.
This seems a little bit risky, but what this shows to me is that B is wanting to go very aggressive here in the feudal age. Because you can't get put under pressure when you're in a position like this, because it's just terrible for you. Your council hall is not under any sort of defense from your TC. You know, you're out here on the deer pack as well, so this is a clear indication to me that B is wanting to put on some serious pressure here in the feudal age.
Yeah, and really, I think it's a good idea. I mean, with VortiX, again, he's the HRE. He got his Aachen Chapel up by borderline record speed. It's about the 3-minute, 20-second mark. You know he's going to be going for... He's trying to hoard his resources if he wants to go up to castle. He does have a lot of villagers on wood, however, so I'm curious to see what he chooses to do. Probably is going to add a defensive building to try to contest some of that English aggression. But, you know, you gotta give it to the HRE, and you gotta make sure that they can't do the things that they want to do, because you're going to lose otherwise.
Exactly. Only the 4 villagers on the council hall here for B. It's not going to be the fastest of age ups. It's still going to be relatively fast, as we do see the second production building going to get dropped down here. Going to be the barracks. So definitely wanting to put on some pressure here. So we do see a barracks coming down here for VortiX. So this is where longbow are actually slightly better up against men-at-arms than just your regular old archer, just because they have a little bit more damage. They tend to do a little bit better up against men-at-arms, which is always nice for them. That extra 1 damage.
That actually does mean a lot, you know, especially against early men-at-arms. They have 3 ranged armor, if I remember correctly, just coming out of the womb there for their barracks. So having to take a men-at-arms down with something with 3 attack instead of 2 attack obviously saves you in the amount of longbowmen that you need to make, most importantly, and it means that the blacksmith upgrade that you're going to get, the steeled arrow that you're going to get, you might necessarily delay it just a little bit just so you have enough longbowmen in a lot of these fights. So it gives you a little flexibility as the English player.
Exactly. I mean, it's definitely worth sacrificing some movement speed and attack speed for that extra 1+ damage and the range. It's why English feudal age aggression to the Holy Roman Empire definitely does feel a little bit better than other civilizations when facing the men-at-arms. That really does come in handy. But VortiX, he's starting to build up quite a massive men-at-arms here. Marching drill's also going to be coming in. He needs to try and make up the ground here in between the longbow and the men-at-arms, because we see here 1.12 movement speed for the longbow, 1.12 for the men-at-arms. So they've got the same movement speed. So with VortiX getting through this marching drills, he's going to be able to close ground on these longbow much, much more effectively.
Right, it means that the kiting is a little more difficult, and for B, he'll probably have to babysit his longbowmen just a little bit more, just to make sure they don't get in harm's way for the men-at-arms. Now, B did go with a spearman to start, which doesn't have much in the way of efficacy towards these early men-at-arms, but you can see in the queue, B is also adding his own men-at-arms, which usually you're not going to see from an English player unless they're going to want to be aggressive. And it is of the Vanguard status, but I'm sure it'll get upgraded eventually if he chooses to go into them.
Yeah, so B going to be looking to add in men-at-arms of his own. So I feel like this is just better for the English, right? Especially if you can get down maybe a tower on the front line here. I'm surprised B hasn't... hello?
We're here. Yes. Sorry. Little glitch, guys. Go ahead. Keep going.
My game has frozen.
Oh. Well, that's a big glitch, guys.
Yeah, not exactly sure what's happened there.
When I sentence, guys, we're live, and we're back
There we go.
into it. Long bowman from B and a couple spearmen as well, trying to give VortiX the business.
Men-at-Arm versus Men-at-Arm hit. But do you see? Only Vanguard status here, though, for B. Doesn't have his upgrades yet to the early stage. Needs to grab that upgrade. It's not expensive at all. Really, really important upgrade for the English there. He's not going to be able to win these fights otherwise. On the front line, we see here, B. Unfortunately, going to be losing out on a couple longbow here. Obviously, the extra damage is helping out quite a bit here.
Yeah, it looks like VortiX does have the Iron Endermesh upgrade, so it's going to help him out just a little bit. B not so much into that Steeled Arrow upgrade, actually just going for Wheelbarrow to start. But take a look at how many longbowmen that B has in that little group right there. If I'm counting correctly, it might be anywhere between 9 or 10.
It is 10.
That is the potent number. And this is, oh my, this is a face outpost. Dropped it right in his dome.
That is aggressive right there. So at the moment, B's longbow, they're doing the same amount of damage as just a regular old archer. So it's going to be important for him to grab the +1 ranged attack. We see here, unfortunately, because of him not upgrading that men-at-arm, he's going to be losing out in this fight, and it's going to be causing quite a bit of idle time here on the villagers on the deer patch. And B, he has to cancel that outpost. Going to be retreating back with the 2 workers. Fortunately, is able to keep them alive, but losing out on quite a lot of the army here.
Yeah, and I mean, I really love the aggression from B. I love his attitude going for that tower, but a little bit maybe too forward. You want to get maybe a safer outpost just to get that network of castles buff, because against those heavy armored units like men-at-arms, it takes so many arrows to actually kill those men-at-arms. If you're shooting them 15% faster, it could mean all the difference for you.
Exactly. For B, he's going to have to retreat back to the base. Now, interestingly, we haven't had any more men-at-arms. I say that, we have more on the way, but still yet to grab the early upgrade. Such a crucial upgrade that he really, really needs.
Yeah, those Vanguard men-at-arms, especially with those yellow leather helmets, I always think those men-at-arms have blonde hair when looking at them, but those Vanguard men-at-arms obviously not going to do the same as the early men-at-arms, just because they don't have as much damage. I feel like for B, just having the 2 or 3 as being a front line, it gives the HRE men-at-arms just a little bit of time to, you know, either you're tanking against those Vanguard men-at-arms, it means you're not going for the longbowmen, so the longbowmen can fire more arrows.
It does seem like B is finally going to be grabbing the Steeled Arrow upgrade, so we'll be able to do a little bit more damage here on the longbow. More men-at-arms are going to be running in for him. Needs these to tank up the damage, really, but VortiX here going to be focusing down the archers. Trying to take these out as quickly as he can.
And it looks like he's doing his best. There's only a couple left for VortiX, and I'm kind of surprised for VortiX how long he wants to keep going with this charade and how many men-at-arms he actually wants to continue to make. It feels like if he stops making them, he's going to lose, right? Just because of how many longbowmen are out there. So it seems like 3DB has him perpetually in this feudal age to the point where he has to keep consistently making men-at-arms, because we know the HRE, they want to go to castle. They want to get those religious artifacts, and B, with the aggression that he's putting on, he's stopping VortiX from doing that. He's doing it very well.
And that Steeled Arrow has come through for him, and we can see here just how well a longbow are now able to kill these men-at-arms with that +1 attack. Like, those blacksmith upgrades really do make the difference.
Yeah, you can see how quickly they're going down instead. And I mean, those little health bars that you can see on your screen too, how many you take. Probably 1 less volley, which can make all the difference, because those archers obviously have to reload. Vanguard men-at-arms trying to catch up to those early men-at-arms. As much as I like to think about the tanking idea for those Vanguard men-at-arms, the early men-at-arms from VortiX are ignoring them completely.
That upgrade does finally come in. It looks like B trying to run away here from these other men-at-arms. He's dropped down a lumber camp over here just to, you know, be as efficient as he possibly can. Needs to try and get down an outpost, though. That network of castles can really, really change everything. So there we do see, finally, that outpost is coming down. VortiX, he knows about it. Is he going to do
I
anything
think
about it?
what's really important for this outpost too, if it does get up, he might be able to fire over the forest and take down some of those villagers if he has the range for it.
First villager going to get taken out. So already some nice value there for VortiX. Able to take out that one villager. Just going to be able to slow down this outpost. You really don't want the English getting up an outpost near your base. Network of castles, it's just so huge. It can seem like that villager, it's going to take some more damage. VortiX at the moment, though, is just sort of throwing away his men-at-arms, not really caring too much about them. So he's just sort of sending them in, trying to take out this villager. His men-at-arms on the other side are going to be heading towards B's base, though. Maybe have to find some value. B does react in time, going to be retreating back. More men-at-arms and longbow coming out from him.
Yeah, I kind of feel like for VortiX, if he masked them up just a little bit, you know, or how much he wanted to stay in feudal and add a second barracks just to kind of create that mass. You see the military count on the top of your screen. It's 31-9 for B. So it's going to take a while. That second barracks is up and producing, but because he keeps kind of funneling them in one at a time, it's just hunting season for these longbowmen. He's just going to continue to pick them off.
Yeah, a couple of workers going to be going down there. VortiX at the moment, he's losing out on workers. He's down in army value. It's not looking too pretty for him. I think, you know, he's made a bit of a farm transition here as well. Men-at-arms, looks like they were cleaned up in the base of B. But B's more than happy to just sit here with his longbow muss.
Yeah, look at the way he moved his army around, too. He's completely avoiding the areas where the HRE defensive structures are. And it seems like VortiX's villagers, his peasants, are doing a great migration away from those structures as well. If those longbowmen can actually catch up to those villagers, it could spell death for VortiX. But just the fact that they're idling might be enough.
Yeah, and B, he's got another army to the right here. He should know about these villagers coming back. We take a look at the perspective here. Seems like he's just going to be running around, not exactly sure. He's not exactly sure where these villagers are heading. But he could have picked off quite a few of them there, especially as textiles are not in.
Yeah, I'm not sure for VortiX, and especially out of that Aachen Chapel, I don't know how many prayers are going to save him at this point. This wood line, now that tower's going down, that longbowman might not be able to take out. Oh, I see a couple, maybe an arrow or two. No, he's not going to be able to see them, so he's going to need another outpost if he wants to protect it. The issue is his wood economy.
He chopped through. He chopped through. That's so smart. And that's going to be able to push VortiX away from this wood line now. He's going to have to relocate, but where to? There's no wood. All of his wood's been denied out here in the villages. 23 villagers gonna have to make their way all the way up to this northern wood line now.
Oh my god, those villagers getting their steps in, that's for sure.
And VortiX at the moment, he doesn't have a huge amount of men-at-arms. In fact, he's got less men-at-arms than B does. And B has 32 longbow on top of this.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I mean, not necessarily just those villagers, but just for VortiX, where do you even go from this for this game? Because now you're going to get to a point, because of that chop through, which was an absolute 5-head chop through. Now that he's able to do that, he's in the Aachen fields, and we talked about this is probably our 4th HRE game that we've seen. When you get a stronghold on those Aachen fields, HRE doesn't have anything.
Exactly. I'd love to see a outpost here instead of an archery range coming down for B. He still doesn't have an outpost, so doesn't have access to network of castles here, which, again, is really, really important. But, you know, archery range still going to be nice. Going to be able to pump out a couple more longbow a little bit closer to the battlefield here. VortiX, he's being pushed away from these farms. His food economy not looking too good at the moment. Currently sitting on 1 food.
And it's how many resources that you need to spend in order to get those farms. You know, you spend a lot of time on the wood line, and you're trying to get those farms underway. That barracks doesn't look like it's going to be safe either. So now, if B just continues, he just can keep pushing this initiative, this military count, 56 to 15. He's going to get to a point where Rams or otherwise, as you see the emergency repairs coming in for that outpost, will be safe just for a little bit of time, but he's going to have a military mass where he can just sit under the town center and it just doesn't matter.
I mean, the massive longbow here is enough to one-shot these men-at-arms. That's when you're not feeling too great as the Holy Roman Empire here. VortiX nowhere near looking to age up. And, I mean, the earlier men-at-arm mass here for B is absolutely huge. And with that, GG is going to get called. B going to be taking game number 2 here. So the score is now 1-1 in this best of 3.
Man, it seemed like a little bit just by, I know we can't go back to the map, but it seemed like VortiX just kind of, he went off his game plan. You know, I mean, he went one town center, so you were thinking, oh, maybe he was going to do some fast castle kind of stuff, but English took it to him, so he wasn't able to do that. He tried to put a couple barracks in, and that just, with the feudal aggression by B, again, it just made the HRE try to adapt, and it's one of those civilizations that are a little bit more rigid. It's very difficult to do something on the fly for them, and trying to get his farm transition because he knew that was only going to be the safe food income that he was able to do. Obviously, that took more time, took away from his military count. You can see at the end he's got about 60. But let's take a look at the tail of the tape for the resources.
I mean, it's surprisingly close. You know, that's not too... Well, I guess the wood here for B is bit of an outlier. But relatively even. I really think it came down to those trades. Like, VortiX just kept throwing away lots of men-at-arms. And we can see here his military count didn't really ever grow, whereas B's it was just continuing to rise.
And, you know, I think because of that pressure, he never felt like he could mass them. He's like, I got to get these out on the map because I feel like I'm going to lose the game otherwise. And whether that's true or not, B made him think that way. So because of that, not going to be able to get that mass going. And now we're at a 1-1 tie. And guys, this is such a pivotal series for the standings. One player is in 7th, I believe. VortiX is in 7th, and then B is in 9th. So again, top 8 making playoffs. This game, actually, this pivotal win or loss from either one of these players could mean destiny is not in their hands when it comes to playoff time, especially next weekend when some of these series are really getting underway. We're going to take a look at the standings, of course. I was wrong completely. How about that? VortiX is 5th.
I think that's because of the last game, because of VortiX versus Lenok. VortiX did win 2-0. So I believe
that's right.
Yeah, I believe that pushes him up now to rank number 5. But yeah, it's still very important, right? Because if he wins this set, it looks like he will be making it up to top 8.
Yeah.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, it is. Puck Society, yes, it is 1-1 for VortiX and B. So this is pivotal game 3. Camion also says, I love B games. His YOLO plays are so much fun. It's also first time that you're chatting. Why don't you go ahead and hit that follow button, man? We're trying to get over 2,000 so Pesty doesn't beat us in the future. So for B, and that's exactly what I talked about in Dark Age before we had the little bit of technical difficulties, is because he went out for the survival techniques and he did some of that like Altai build that was usually like season 2 English kind of thing. He really has that mad scientist role in Age of Empires 4, so to speak, because he does these strategies that are a little bit unorthodox and he makes the opponent react to him. And if there's opponents that can't react to those unorthodox plays, they don't have the adaptability, they're more rigid in their build, it means B has an advantage when going into the game. And you saw that in a matchup where English HRE, people don't usually want to pick English in that situation. He was able to really take it to him, and it was pretty dominating.
Yeah. But next up, we've got Delhi Sultanate versus French on Wetlands. Now, this is interesting because French, you've got a lot of the pawns, like they love to move about with their discounted mill prices. So, you know, they're more than happy to move about on the different resources on the map. But then you got the Delhi with their sacred sites. And on this map, the wood spawns can be a little bit crazy. So sometimes it can be really easy to wall in those sacred sites. So a map that is good for both civilizations here, really.
Yeah, well, first of all, I love watching B's French. I have watched B play French a couple times. His APM is certainly, when controlling those Royal Knights, are something to behold. So something that we'll be able to see. in Feudal Age, but you're absolutely right about the map. For wetlands, we're not going to know what's going to happen until we load into the game. I mean, some of these spawns could get quite ridiculous, and we'll see if it's an advantageous one for Delhi trying to get those sacred sites. Usually, if it was an open map, like something like a Dry Arabia, I usually like me personally, I like playing Delhi in this situation. Just your ability to mass units and Tower of Victory Spearmen end up doing really well against Royal Knights. But we'll take a look at this Wetlands map, this pivotal big game 3, because we're loaded up. We're ready to go.
Alright, so welcome to game number 3 here between 3DB and VortiX. B is going to be spawning in on the left-hand side of the map here, in the color orange, playing as the French. And we see he's going to be immediately moving out here towards the deer, interestingly. Not deciding to go for any shoreline fish, as we do tend to see players go for on this map.
And his opponent spawning in on the southeastern part of the map, playing as the Delhi Sultan. The first time we've seen it, actually, in this tournament. And as the color blue, it is VortiX. He is going for the shorefish. One of the weird things about Delhi on this map is a little bit different in terms of berry spawns. You can see with that mill, obviously a little bit, some of those berry bushes have those nice little sticks around them, but one of those 4 is not like the other, so VortiX gonna have to go for the shorefish a little bit instead.
Yeah, this is an interesting one, because I think this is the only map where berries don't spawn like they normally do in like 9 packs of 9, right? But this is still a good spot for VortiX. He's going to be able to get his wheelbarrow through. He's still going to be able to have some good resource collection here on the fish and a couple berries. But something I'm more interested in is these sacred site spawns. Have a look at this. Isn't this the best spot to have a sacred site in?
What fresh hell is this? Look at this. Look at this wood line over here, this natural defense. I mean, obviously, you could chop through it if you really wanted to, if you're beat, but how much time and effort it actually takes. And you're obviously not going to go around the south and move yourself east in that area, obviously, because VortiX's, main town center is right there. So the only way he can really go is up north. I mean, if I'm B and I'm scouting this, I'm like, okay, I'm down one sacred site feudal, and you just kind of take it as a defeat and move on with your life.
Exactly. I mean, this is so easy to wall up, so... I mean, to be fair, the same could be said this side for both players. I mean, maybe B looks to wall this one up early. Maybe VortiX looks to come out to this sacred site and try and, capture this one up despite it being quite far away from his base. Something that's definitely possible. And then we got the central sacred site here as well, which we can have some nice walls coming down over here. Definitely
yeah, I think
possible.
this middle one is where we're really going to see some battles here. I mean, obviously the eastern one's going to get taken, the western one pretty far away. So it's all about, especially for Delhi, one sacred site sometimes isn't really enough to really, get to that super fast castle age kind of timing. So we'll see. And we'll see how much Delhi wants to stay in feudal. Obviously, they do have efficient production that was researched out of the mosque. So when they start making those military buildings, they're just that little much better than the French, even with the school cavalry having that increase for just the stables. Delhi can do it with all of them, all of those military buildings, as long as they put a scholar in there. So it becomes, with French versus Delhi, it kind of becomes more of a quality versus quantity. Obviously, one can make knights, one can't, but VortiX just ends up having more units on paper. So we'll see how it plays out, especially for that middle sacred site. For Delhi, you really want to get those first 1 or 2 battles under your belt and win them, because then you can really snowball.
He's going to be aging up here with the School of Cavalry. I love that he does this. He's done this in pretty much every game where he looks to move out for some external food source. And then he drops down the landmark with some of the villagers. I think it's really, really smart. I like it a lot. Obviously, it's a little bit undefended from the TC, but it's a School of Cavalry. It's not like it's an Archon Chapel. And VortiX on the other side, he's going to be aging up with the Tower of Victory. So, interesting landmark choice. I guess it definitely makes sense here, right? You're going to be putting a lot of feudal age pressure on, so definitely a smart decision here. As now we do see that barracks is going to get dropped down here.
And I'll tell you what, you're talking about the landmark choice for the Tower of Victory. I was a big Dome of the Faith homeboy. Like, I was a ride or die for Dome of the Faith, and then I used Tower of Victory once or twice, and I was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, just having that increase in attack speed, you know, it's 20% for these things, and it really helps
huge.
out against those spearmen, especially with the Royal Knights. That beast starting to pop out, looking to get some villagers down.
It's better than a meta, right? And you don't even have to keep the meta alive when you're playing as the Delhi here. So we also see increased production speed coming through on the barracks. So spears are going to get pumped out here for VortiX. Wants to try and stop this knight from B causing too much havoc. The upgrade going to be coming through. So fun fact, this knight could actually 1v2 these two spears as they're still in the Dark Age. But I mean, you'll be losing a lot of health on your knight, so it's probably best to avoid it. But it is technically a fight you can win with just the one knight.
Yeah, you are right, and it's very frustrating. And it looks like those Delhi Sultanate peasants just got a little too pissed off. Tried to get a surround on that Royal Knight, didn't quite get it, and that Spearman will be chasing that Knight into Forever Zone just because of the amount of tiles that it can actually move through. Delhi trying to get a little counter raid over here by the mill. One thing about wetlands, though, Merlin, these are quite raidable areas for these players.
Yeah, exactly. I love the fact B has built multiple mills. I mean, this is what's so great about the French on this map. Having half-price mills, it may not sound like a lot, saving 25 wood, but it really stacks up when you're moving around pond to pond with all of these drop-off buildings. That's really nice for them. And B here, able to walk out of VortiX's base with 26 HP and 11 HP. So hopefully we'll see Chivalry coming in for him soon to hopefully heal these ones back up.
And I mean, this is just, although we didn't see all of it, you just because of the amount of health on those knights, 37 health betwixt the two. It just means B's micro with those knights and keeping them alive, and it's so pivotal for the French, especially with Delhi making more units. You can see from military count we're showing Delhi 13, B at 9, army value obviously more for B just because of those knights. But if those two knights went down, it's a catastrophic loss.
Yeah, it really is. You do not want to be losing these, but we do see B managed to pick off 2 villagers, so definitely some good value. You just need to make sure you keep these alive until Chivalry comes through, which I'm sure will be on B's mind very, very soon.
You know, Chivalry is a difficult tech to get against the Delhi because you feel like when you're not producing units, you're losing. You know, because of the ability for the Delhi to have efficient production, you always feel like you don't have as many units. So it takes time in order to get that Chivalry out, but does get it now. It takes about 45 seconds to get, more than it actually takes a knight to pop out. But here we hear those gongs heard across the world. Couple sacred sites getting picked up by VortiX here.
I would be amazed if B is able to try and capture this one back from VortiX. I don't see that happening, but he is going to be able to capture this one away from VortiX. We see the one scholar hit for VortiX, trying to capture that one up. No archers here for VortiX. He does have some horsemen on the map. Nowhere to be seen near the field here, though, as the one finally approaching here. But it seems like B is able to keep this one out of VortiX's hand for the time being.
Yeah, and I think just using those, VortiX was using those horsemen. That was a good spot by you to raid some of these areas, which obviously helps. It means, you know, less knights on the battlefield. But now that he's able to officially produce those horsemen, you see 5, and there's 2 in the queue. He'll have enough to deal with those archers essentially in no time.
Yeah, exactly. Let's have a look, see how much production he's got down. He's only got the 1 stable. He has got the scholar inside, though, so we'll be able to train these relatively quickly. We see there only 11 seconds per horseman. So he's going to be able to get those out nice and fast. Chivalry starting to heal up these knights. We see they're already up to a decent number of health. Barracks also going to get dropped down now for B. So wanting to go into that 1-1-1 composition here. The couple spears would definitely help out here, as VortiX is already up to 8 horsemen. The central sacred site not being touched by either player yet.
And you kind of need that 1-1-1 build as those villagers again pulling out their shivs. They're just trying to collect fish, you know, just trying to. Those horsemen getting really antsy. Those villagers not liking it too much. But with that 1-1-1 build from French, that's one of those things that you really need to do in order to stop the deli and all of the units they make. VortiX though just being such a nuisance with these horsemen.
Looks like VortiX will be able to pick off one villager. So already some, you know, pretty good value there. And the horseman is able to get away on 8 HP. Unfortunately for the deli, they don't have any chivalry. But, I mean, I guess you could probably bring it back to the base and look to heal it up with a scholar or two. But in saying that, VortiX does only have 2 scholars, so probably not worth it in that case. And B, have a look at that micro. Sending the 7 villagers there onto the horseman allows that 3 HP worker to get away just in time. But this is certainly a pain here for B. I mean, he's just under so much pressure from just these horsemen attacking him on every single angle.
It's so annoying. I mean, from somebody who I'm sure you've been subjected to raids in multiple areas too, but these knights, Merlin, they might get caught out.
Yeah. A lot of knights, they are able to get away unharmed for the time being. It looks like B may be wanting to try and contest this sacred site, which VortiX is yet to actually wall up. But I mean, this could be a death trap, right? Maybe this is VortiX's plan. Don't wall this up, let B inside, and then just trap him.
Oh my god, where's that? It's a trap guy when you need him. No, he is. He is going to put the walls down just a little bit quicker. I mean, VortiX obviously knows that sacred site now starting to get captured because VortiX knows those knights are all the way on the eastern side of the map. So maybe he might get a cheeky capture, but it looks like there's enough archers here to stop those scholars from getting in here. And now it's the kind of point, you can see it on the queue on the top right hand part of your screen, is the scholar production. One of them is eventually going to go down because of these knights. But having a lot of scholars in those feudal age, even though they don't heal as much as they used to, still pivotal in some of these battles.
Looks like VortiX may be able to get a huge raid off here. 8 workers. The Textiles is in for B, but he doesn't have any army nearby. He's going to look to put on the pressure himself. It looks like he's now going to be falling back. That's definitely going to be a couple dead villagers. Not as many as I initially thought, but still 2, 3. May even be a 4th and a 5th hit. It's going to be close. Looks like another one going to be going down. So some great value right there for VortiX, and does now mean he takes that villager lead. I'm not sure how long that's going to be lasting for, though, as knights here for B going to be running into the base. Looking to take out a few workers here for VortiX.
He's really trying to push it here. Knights getting on that wood line, actually getting just surrounded on a lot of villagers. Make sure those knights don't get surrounded, however. Spearman finally gets some hits on them. That's a lot of army value down for B.
Yeah, that was a lot of dead knights right there. And they didn't exactly pick off many workers. So you see they are on an even amount. VortiX does have through textiles, so you know, that extra plus 25 really does come in handy.
To be honest, I feel like it saved both of those players, especially because wetlands, you got to go out to those outside food resources. Textiles seems like a must. B's trying to be a little bit more offensive instead of going around that second sacred site. I don't know, Merlin. This feels like a little bit of an overextension as reinforcements are getting picked off over there on the northwest side too.
Army value for VortiX really starting to catch up now. He's 1 villager ahead, and behind this he's just been sitting on this sacred site the whole time. So he's got to be feeling pretty happy about this. He's starting to build up a real nice army. Production. Looking to pump out more horsemen, more spears, more archers. And B, he's just lost so many knights, right? It feels really, really bad. His army value was way above VortiX just a minute ago. But now, they're at pretty much the same.
Yeah, I mean, for B, the only thing that's really saving him in terms of military count is all of those archers now, 25 archers coming in, but VortiX, he does have enough horsemen. If he does catch those archers off guard, I mean, that's the best thing and the worst thing about the 1-1-1 build. You have counters to everything, but just like VortiX is doing with his army, you gotta make sure all those counters stick together because they're gonna help each other out.
Looks like B's started to slow down just a little bit on production. And saying that, he has queued up another knight. Neither player really looking towards a castle age. Seems like VortiX has a slightly better food economy for the time being. But VortiX does still have access to deer packs around the map. B, it seems like he's already used up quite a lot of it. See, not too many resources left. Has some fish available to him here and there. Also the boar. Looks like he's going to be taking the boar now, so that's going to be really nice for him. Could be able to propel him a little bit forward when it comes to that food economy. But VortiX looks like he's starting to remass, and this may finally be the time where he can capture the second sacred site. And this will be huge for him. Having 2 sacred sites under control, that's definitely when you can start to think about going into the castle age.
Oh, and this is going to force the issue, right? And B knows this. You can see that big orange blob on the top of that mini-map starting to move south. He's going to see if there's anything that he can really do about it, and I'm not really sure for how many spearmen there are, how many horsemen there are. B doesn't have much in the way of his own spearmen. Army composition looks a lot better for VortiX.
It certainly does. And B, you need to be careful here. That could have been a surround on your knights. Fortunately, he does get away, only losing out on a single knight. But a scholar able to capture up that sacred site. VortiX now in control of 2 sacred sites. But B, he's looking to run in here. 9 Royal Knights on the way. VortiX doesn't have many spears here to deal with this. This could be huge for him. But at the same time, VortiX is going to be running into the base of B.
It looks like B's trying to go for a good old-fashioned base trade. I just don't think he has enough knights to really force the issue. Spearmen get a good brace on those horsemen. We'll see if those archers can hold Merlin. They got to keep kiting.
And you got to remember, we got the tower victory in here as well. You know, an extra 20% ranged attack on everything here, apart from the horsemen. It's huge. And now B's army's just been completely wiped up. Back in the base, though. Oh, no. So many dead villagers. VortiX, he's going to be losing out on even more. He's taking a good fight against B's army at the moment. But he's losing out on so many workers for it. I'm not sure if this is worth it.
VortiX finally saw it, but the damage was done. That was about 11-ish villagers. I think the worker kill count for B was 4. By the end of that, yeah, his army's going to get wiped out, but for every unit that B kills out of VortiX's army, it's going to be difficult for him to replace. This could be the time, now that the villager count is as bad as it is. B's the only one that's going to be able to reproduce and will be able to produce more knights and how expensive they are. I think B can turn this around.
Yeah, I really think he can. And he's playing the French as well, so he's going to have the slightly faster villager production speed. Though he's not actually training villagers at the moment, so...
Just queue them,
yeah.
And they'll go fast, I promise.
They may need to get on that, but we see even more workers. VortiX just losing out on so many workers. He's lost 17 this game, compared to only the 7 of VortiX. B.
Man, those villagers going down was so huge, and because Delhi, it's so difficult for them, especially at this point in the game. They don't want to do much in way of a farm transition. They just want to make more archers. They don't want to use that wood for things like economy. They want to push the initiative, and it looks like archers are going to be something that he needs. B's continuing to produce. VortiX has 8 to B's 19.
VortiX is still taking reasonable fights here up against the army of B. But B's just found so much value here with just the few knights out on the field. It's absolutely huge. VortiX does still have 2 sacred sites going for him at the moment. That's something that you got to bear in mind. But now that B is ahead in economy, you know, he's got a pretty decent mass now that he should be able to reclaim the central sacred site. As knights here for B, going to be engaging onto some spears. VortiX may be able to pick off a couple of knights or 2. But B, he's just got such a huge mass now. This sacred site, I'm sure, will be claimed any second now. And we see here the score count for VortiX just looking so rough.
But Merlin, look at the food per minute difference from VortiX. VortiX for a solid minute and a half was on 0 because he wasn't able to get to that deer patch. There was just, he had to migrate all of those villagers and go somewhere else. Right now, they're all on another berry patch a little bit down south.
He's come back to the same spot the last lot were murdered.
Yeah, this is devastating. VortiX can't really recover from this just based on the economy that he has. Those spearmen are going to continue getting picked off randomly, and that's the game. That
is the game right there. The night raids from B were too much for VortiX, and B is going to be taking this set 2-1.
What an insane game. That was such a good game 3 to watch, and I'm glad all you guys had the opportunity to watch it too. I wanted to mention something. We look at the villager count. There was a massive raid. We kind of know that story, but I want to point out something Baltoon said in chat. Actually, Vortex's spears when he was in there, in the French base. I agree with you. Were really useless because all of those knights were out raiding. Those spearmen didn't do much of anything, and they ended up getting evaporated not just from the TC fire, but B's archer count as well because he had so many archers. He was able to take down not only the spearmen but the archers from VortiX as well that were a little bit better, even though from the Tower of Victory, just having the sheer mass of them at a time when usually the French, they can't mass up as well as the Delhi because they don't have that efficient production. But he was able to do it by taking an indirect route, taking the economy down to the point where VortiX didn't have any food at the end, couldn't reproduce like B could, and that was the end.
It does seem like VortiX did have a pretty decent food economy. We can see there was ahead when it came to the overall economy, but we see there the gold for B way ahead, and the wood pretty far ahead as well. So